Well, hey everybody! Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. I'm she, I'm that one, I'm the wild one they call Christel Crawford, and I am so glad you're here today. Whether you're listening to this in the future or now as I adjust my camera, because why do it before the show starts when you can do it while the show is going? So welcome you guys to this week's episode. I very cleverly titled this Your Natural Ability, and in the hopes that it would actually entice some of you to listen that might not listen if I called this Your Natural Ability with Entities. Now, if you did just hear that, I would encourage you to hang around and see what I'm looking at here, because as I've been looking at this topic of entities, I've discovered a whole new world of possibility, actually as I've been living it. And I wanted to sort of dive into that with you today. Let me start out by saying that part of today's episode is going to have a story about how I cleared demons from my stepdaughter and how that made life easier. It will include how many times a day I actually use entity tools and what that does for me, and I'm sure a couple other things that I haven't thought of yet. The reason I call this Your Natural Ability, one of the things I'm always looking at, well, let's see here. I always end up looking at thank you so much, Inbal. Is there anything that we might be refusing that we truly could be choosing, that if we would choose it would actually give us everything that we say we want? Yeah, I'm always looking at that. Right? Like I look at this in specific, hey Loretta, in regards to money and business all the time, because money and business are an integral part of living for me. But I also really look at this with entities. And, you know, this particular set of classes is one of those things that I just didn't want to look at for 7 years. I didn't want to take this class. It's called Talk to the Entities. I didn't think it was relevant, and I've talked about that before. Hello. But what I was looking at today with this particular topic is that we actually all have a natural ability with spirits that most of us don't really want to know anything about. And here's where I see that causing, hi Amanda, here's where I see that causing problems for people. Entity awareness shows up as all these different things, other things. It's not like an entity knocks on your head and says, hey, I'm an entity and I need your help, could you help me? That's not actually how things work, right? Entities are part of the unseen world. They're a part of the non-visible, unless you can see them, which is awesome. But for the most part, they show up as energies. And so, I mean, like if when you asked a question, awareness could show up, knock on your door and go, this is where the cash is, and that's how awareness worked, that would be great. But the thing is that awareness works in senses. You sense things. That's it. That's how awareness is. Now, the reason that's important is because we go to a lot of conclusions about what we're sensing. And it's not our fault. We're doing the best we can with the tools we have available, but we're doing a lot of conclusionary reality instead of curiosity. Now, if you have a natural ability, like let's just say your body has a natural ability with breathing and beating your heart. It's a natural ability. It's innate to the body. When you come into a body, most physical bodies, not all, have this natural ability to work your lungs and work your heart. Now, I sent out an email earlier today that for most of my life, I resisted my body's natural ability, not like super consciously, and I didn't really equate my lungs working and my heart beating with like living. I didn't put those two and two together. I took it all for granted. But for most of my life, I fought that natural ability of my body's because I didn't want to be here. I was resisting being here. I was resisting being alive. I was resisting for a long time, guys. Like for almost 40 years, I resisted being alive. Even after I found access tools, I was trying to live while wanting to die, right? So that's a resistance to what's occurring, right? And I can laugh about it now. It felt very, very serious then, but now I can go, wow, that's just a resistance to a natural occurrence, which is that my body naturally wants to live, right? I'm here. It's only going to create dying if I insist, if I create disease, if I, take enough points of view, it will surrender to my assertion. but my body naturally wants to live. Now, the same is true of your natural ability with awareness. You have a natural ability with awareness. It's gone unacknowledged by you for most of your existence. It's gone undisclosed. It's not really something that's talked about. It's gone unacknowledged, undisclosed. It's really been invisible. And throughout the centuries, it's been persecuted. Oh, happy day, right? So like people like us were persecuted back in the day. We were burned as witches and drowned and tortured. And there's been a lot of persecution over these lifetimes that we've been around. So awareness has not been a celebrated thing. It's been a squashed thing, a persecuted thing, a resisted thing, a negated thing. And us weirdos, now here in almost 21, are the ones going, wait, what? Wait, there's something about this consciousness thing that is like turning my head. Wait, what? And so you have a natural ability. First of all, you wouldn't be interested in these conversations if you didn't have it. So you got to ask yourself, okay, truth, do I have a natural ability for awareness of the spirit world? Yes or no? And if you get yes, where do you go with that? Do you just go, okay, well, cool, I've got a few tools and that's fine? Do you dive into it? Do you recognize that this is something you are and like explore it? Or do you try to resist it, negate it, and get everything to go away? Here's the thing about trying to get a natural ability to go away. You actually have to kill the body to get it to go away, because it is. Right? Like it is. You have it. So now what? So, hi Krista. Are you going to fight it? Are you going to resist it? Are you going to refuse it? Are you going to negate it? Are you going to embrace it? Are you going to surrender to it? Are you going to allow your own ability to transform your very being? That's what I'm interested in. That's what I choose. And that's a conversation that I'd rather be having around this entity stuff. Because here's the thing, like awareness, when you have this natural ability for awareness. Okay, great. Now what does that mean? Well, here's a few things. 99.9999999% of everything you think and feel and have as intensity in your body isn't yours. And I'll add, because we're having an entity conversation, I would say, I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but a strong 80% of what you become aware of is entity or demon related. Now, I told you I was going to tell you the story of clearing demons from my stepdaughter. So let me share with you something that like just occurred to me like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So entity awareness, demon awareness can show up as a mood. Now, I've had 2 full years of lots of entity classes. I've been facilitating this class now for 2 full years. Like, this only occurred to me to ask about 5 weeks ago, so you get it when you get it. But I've said entity awareness shows up as a mood, but here's, Mary Christie. Here's something that occurred. So I was having, probably for the last 4 or 5 months prior to like 5 weeks ago, what is that? Every time that Andreas would say, Luna's coming over, she's 6.5, I would instantly get pissed. Now, Luna's a big bundle of everything. She's all the things. She's incredibly fun. She's incredibly delightful. She's also incredibly 6. Right? So it's all the mix. So it was easy for me to go to conclusion about that sensation, that anger, that mood. And then I didn't ask any questions about it. I just assumed that I knew what it was about. And then she would come over and I would just try to deal with myself the whole time. And I was, trying to be supportive. And I am. I mean, like you hear me talking about myself, you think I'm like, I sound like a shitty person. Like, but I was struggling. I was struggling because I had this energy there that I didn't want to be having, but I didn't know how to change it. And I was using the tools. Who does this belong to? Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Like I was using all the tools that I could think of. But the one thing I never asked, not ever, was, am I aware of entities or demons here? Now, so that was like 3 or 4 months of that occurring. And I was starting to get really frustrated with myself because that's not who I want to be. That's not how I want to feel. That's not even how I feel. I'm like, this isn't even how I feel about her. So it occurred one last time, and I had facilitated a Talk to the Entities class like just that last weekend. And so for the first time I asked, it occurred again, she's coming over. I started to feel pissed. And for the very first time I remembered entity awareness can be a mood. So I'm like, and my pissed would show up as this knot in my chest, okay? So it can be a mood. So I just asked, am I aware of entities or demons here? And I got this screaming yes, like, yes! So I was driving home at the time, and just in that moment, I went, oh my gosh, how many demons am I aware of? And it was just this cacophony of awareness. The thing is, it's so easy to clear them. This is what you do. Okay, go back to from whence you came. You have to use these words. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to her body, or this reality. And you keep saying that until the energy changes. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to her body, or this reality. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to her body, or this reality. And then I clear demons out of Andreas' body because demons are created by judgment. They are also hired in some lifetime or another. So they're not significant, they just occur. So I cleared all the demons. I dealt with the entities. Are there any entities? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, cool. Those of you that don't know you don't have a body, you can go now. The rest of you, truth, who are you? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, what's your job? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, who will you be in the future? You can take all your magnetic imprinting and you can go now. And then I said one last thing. And for the rest of you that are with them and did not clear, you are not allowed in our house while Luna is here. I am telling you, we went from having a weekend of tumult and fighting and like struggle, like her and I were just bumping heads so much. Not seriously, but energetically, very loudly, to absolute and total peace. From that weekend on, and every time she comes over now, I check in, clear whatever's required, and we have had peace ever since then. And that anger that I would feel every time she was coming over is absolutely gone. Now, I have other things that I deal with, other types of reactions that I do that I'm still looking at. But I will tell you that one of the things I've added to my life that has changed everything is, am I aware of any entities or demons here? With every mood, with every headache, with every sensation in my body, with every difficulty in my life, am I aware of entities or demons here? And then I just deal with that. And that is so fucking easy, but it required me to, it requires of me a couple of things. Thank you, Jamie. One, I have to acknowledge that I'm aware of these things. I'm aware of them. My world now includes all beings. Now I've got to remember consciously still sometimes to ask what I'm aware of and include, am I aware of entities and demons? And that would be probably, if I could give you one takeaway out of this show, it's like, add that question to everything for now, for a while. I'm going to be taking over the Talk to the Entities Instagram tomorrow, and so I'll be all over the stories. But one of the things I'm going to do tomorrow is sort of note every single time that I use the tool throughout the day, because entity tools are such an integral part of my life now that I don't think about it. But then there's still these parts where I don't think about it. It didn't occur to me to ask. And so add that as a thing, like, am I aware of any entities or demons here? Not as a significant thing, but as a thing where you get that you're aware of these things. And so that awareness shows up in all these different ways. And so if you have a thing going on, ask, how many entities and demons am I aware of? And then you just use the entity tool that's going to create the change. And I think my favorite thing about this is, like, it is actually so simple. The hardest part seems to be for us claiming that we have this natural ability. Because until you claim that, you're never going to ask, because you just see it as a problem and you just want it to go away. That'd be like seeing your breathing as a problem and wanting breathing to go away, right? You could do that, you could kill the body, except the problem is you're going to come back. So I don't know how bright that is, right? So, so you have this natural ability. Oh my gosh. What else can I tell you? Man, I wish I could just, like, the stories, okay. I have another story and it's like right on the edge of my awareness and I want to tell it to you. I think the thing that's coming to say is that, so if this is indeed a natural ability and it's not something that, you know, you are being saddled with, but you actually chose this. That's the thing, is like, you came in to this planet as this. You came in with all of your abilities. You came in with your strength. You came in with your willingness to have consciousness or not have consciousness. You came in this way. I'll tell you a story about that quickly. I was in a 7-day class with Gary Douglas, and this was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I was trying to sort through something about my family. And in an effort to ask my question, I was trying to give Gary some backstory, and I was like, you know, I'm really grateful for my family because, you know, I am who I am today because of them. And he said, hold on a second. And it surprised me because I actually thought I'd gotten it right. And he's like, hang on a second. Did your family make you into who you are? Or did you come in this way? And it like struck me so dynamically, like it struck me so hard, because what happened is I looked at the rest of I looked at all of my life and my whole past, and I was like, holy shit, I came in this way. Like, I came in this different. You know, my mom didn't make me into this generosity of spirit, ass-kicking bundle of volcano-ness. You know, I came in this way. I'm totally different than my family. You know, we share some similarities in terms of family stuff, I guess. But I want different things. I'm going for different things. Like, I'm different. And when he said, you came in this way, it was like, oh. So when you look at that with this ability with entities, you came in this way. You have this natural ability. And so I love your downloading exercise you had in your 5-day Talk to the Entities mini-series. I'm downloading and listening right now. Awesome. Cool. And you know what? We'll do one at the end here too, so you guys have it on YouTube. Excuse me while I funk with my hair. It's actually getting so long that you're going to see me playing with it more. Okay. So I'm losing my points today, clearly, so that's fun. But listen, so this natural ability, I think that's just the primary thing I wanted to say, and maybe we'll just make this episode a little bit shorter. But my curiosity for you today is, like, if you were willing to surrender to your ability instead of resist it, would your life get easier? And would it get greater? And I think the final thing I want to sort of add to that, and then we'll do a little downloading exercise and I'll talk about what that is that when you choose to surrender to what's really true about you, even though you can't define it and you can't explain it to anybody else, you're the one that gets to be greater and have more of you. And when you have more of you, everything gets easier, right? So the reason we have these specialties in Access, like Talk to the Entities and X-Men and, you know, all these other specialties about relationships, is because there's so many huge topics that we can't get to it all in a, you know, 4-day foundation class. But when you're willing to sort of go, wait, that thing is pulling my attention, I have no idea why. And I've talked to a lot of people about this particular class, like, I have no idea why this class is pulling me, and you follow that, then what you get access to is more of you, and money gets easier, and your business gets easier because you're being you. And so how many of you have cut yourself off from your being? And how much abuse has your being been subject to? And how much has your being been negated? And how much have the abilities that you have as the being that you are been, you know, crapped on, shut down, negated, and all that other stuff? So everything that brings up or lets down, let's destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all night shorts, boys and beyonds. What I'm really interested in giving all of us access to is more of what we naturally are. And if the spirit world isn't this weird thing, it's actually just a natural part of the world. It's like, you know, if the earth, we're going to have categorized, the earth has, we've categorized the earth, right? We have all these different plant kingdoms and animal kingdoms and all these other things. The one thing we never gave a category to is the spirit kingdom, but only because we didn't. Only because somebody at some point decided that that wasn't a worthy category, not because it doesn't exist. So if it is a natural part of the world, the way things are here, and we refuse it, how much of ourselves are we cutting off? Because we're a psychic radio receiver tower. You're a psychic radio receiver tower. You're not a human. You're a humanoid. So thoughts, feelings, and emotions and no receiving isn't actually your reality. It might be the way you've been functioning for a really long time, but that's not really what's true for you. So what is true? And what's inviting you to explore what's really true? And if you are willing to follow those tugs, even though they don't make any sense, what would get greater about your life? And so let's take the last little bit here. We've got 10 minutes and we'll see how long this goes. Probably not that long. And let's do a little downloading exercise. And while I'm talking you through the beginning stages, if you're in a place where you can actually sit down, close your eyes. Don't do this while you're driving. Do that. And also if you are driving or you're doing something active, just go soft focus with what you're doing and allow this exercise to have its effect, okay? But what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to take a minute or 5 and allow the activity that's occurring around us, in us, with us, near us, and far away from us to be received. Because what happens with all of us who've negated this natural ability is that you have what's considered a backlog of shit going on. It's like if you hadn't cleaned your house in about 50 billion years and you went to clean it, there would probably be about 80 to 100 layers of grime to get through before you got to the house. And that's what's happened for a lot of us with this entity awareness, because we've refused it, negated it, hidden from it, and all that other stuff. Most of us have a backlog. And that, most of the time, is what's causing your head to hurt, your body pains in your bodies, like all that other stuff. Like most of the time, backlog entity activity is creating and causing those pains because they have to get loud to get your attention. And so how much entity activity is actually going on for you that you haven't acknowledged? Whew. And everything that brings up or lets down, you destroy it and create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all name, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So as much as you can where you're at right now, I just want you to relax. And in this relaxation, I want you to lower all of your barriers. And while you're lowering your barriers, even if you don't know how to do that, all you have to do is ask for them to lower, and they'll lower. I also want you to become aware of the molecules that you are sitting on or touching or standing on, and ask them if they would become more comfortable for you while you receive. And now push your barriers down even farther, even though you don't know how to do that. Just ask them to go lower. And I want you to take a deep breath and allow that exhale to relax every part of you from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, down into your groin, so that every single thing that you're aware of can be received. And anything you've decided about this being overwhelming or you can't do this, would you be willing to let that go for at least the next 3 minutes? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, all I'd ask you to do is put your attention on what's occurring. All the beings that are in the room that you're in, all the beings that are in the house that you're in, all the beings that are in the neighborhood you're in, the city that you're in, and if you'd like to go further, you can. But how much activity do you become aware of? And it will show up so differently for all of us. For me, it sort of sounds like, well, and it's not actual hearing. The sense of it is this sort of cacophony of talking and noise that's very, very, very sensorial, not auditory. And that's the thing you guys have to get, is that you are a sensing being. You're not a feeling and thinking being. You've just created yourself as that, but you're a sensing being. So there are senses that you have with perceiving and receiving that haven't yet been strengthened, but can be. So now, all together, I want you to become aware of and ask for the beings that don't know they don't have a body to make themselves louder. If you don't know you don't have a body, be louder. Okay, cool. Hey, you don't have a body. And then notice if you notice a shift, okay? Because when you address a being that doesn't know he doesn't have a body and you let them know they don't have a body, they'll just go. Now I want you to ask the beings that are willing to be cleared, the beings that are going to be cleared, to be louder. Okay? All of you, truth, who are you? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, who were you before that? Truth, what's your job? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, what was your job before that? And truth, who will you be in the future? And you can take all your magnetic imprinting and you can go now. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And just notice if you notice anything shifting. And we're going to do one more awareness sweep and go, truth, are there any demons here? Yes or no? And if you get a yes, this is what you say. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to me, my body, or this reality. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, our bodies, our buildings, or this reality. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, our bodies, these buildings, or this reality. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, our bodies, these buildings, or this reality. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay. Now, for the sake of time and this episode, I'm going to pause the official exercise, but what I want you to notice is that if you open up this space of downloading and receiving, you can stay as this, and everything will get greater and easier. It doesn't have to end or stop ever. And what I'd invite you to look at is, would exploring your abilities with these beings expand your life more? There's so much more information, and there's so much more detail, and there's, different kinds of entities, and there are different tools that you use based on the different kinds. And once you acknowledge something for what it is, it can actually change. So I'd invite you to look at that. And of course, you're invited to the class that I'm doing at the end of December, and any of the Talk to the Entities facilitators in the world. Shannon has a brand new Talk to the Entities that she just facilitated that was epic. I took that. And we have a brand new manual. So would this class create more for your life? That's the only thing to look at. And you're so welcome. And if it's not time, because you always know the timing of things, if it's not time for the class, go check out the book. And go check out the videos on my YouTube channel, and go check out the videos on Shannon's channel and whoever else you're drawn to, because you got yourself here. There's a natural ability that you have with the spirit world, and I wonder what gift you are that you haven't received the fortune of, and what you could choose to change that. Share this with a friend who needs it, and I will see you guys next week.